Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know what this is going to be about based on that intro music, then I would just turn this off right now. Go back to your life, back to doing what you're doing. Because we are going to talk
Which
about...
is what you should be doing anyways.
You should not be listening
Sorry to
to
cut
this
in, Ryan.
again. I want to reiterate, this is going to be my theme of this podcast is don't listen.
Are we stumbling on the name of our show?
Don't listen.
Don't listen to this podcast? That's gotta exist. But seriously, don't listen to this. Turn it off. Go do something better with yourself. If you're listening to this, you're already probably a personal friend of us.
Yeah.
So take it from us. We like you.
We want you
you're
to
charming.
Yeah, we want you to have a better life.
Do something constructive with your time. You know, I'm talking to you. You know who you are.
Yeah.
Do something constructive with your time.
He knows.
Yeah, he
Our one friend.
or she.
She.
You never know. We could be getting some lady listeners who are really into...
That's why I'm doing this, by the way.
Oh, for the chicks.
For the women.
Podcasting gets you chicks.
Oh, my God.
Everybody knows that.
You walk into a bar, it's like Macklemore in that video.
Podcast chicks are the new raver sluts? Is
Yes.
that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's the whole...
They
the
dress
whole
the
culture.
exact same way, too. It's
way.
amazing.
You should see the podcast conventions. They are ridiculous.
Do they have podcast conventions?
If they don't, next year, Monona Terrace, Madison, Wisconsin.
We will start one.
The Don't Listen to This podcast is starting a podcast festival. Scott Aukerman, I'm talking to you. Guest of honor, keynote speech from Adam Carolla.
Well, I imagine it a lot like Coachella, with the big stages, the production value, and just people talking with microphones.
Like
on the stages.
Coachella, are we going to be paying young Hollywood to show up for
Yes.
publicity purposes?
We are also going to be sponsored by many
Svedka?
things.
Svedka? Are we going to be Svedka?
By saying it's like Coachella, I'm admitting that corporations are putting this podcast together in order to attract the indie crowd.
Yep. We are paid. We are actually a Koch brother podcast. We are paid by the Koch brothers to subvert.
We weren't going to come right out and
counterculture.
say it. We were going to have a whole podcast about, Koch brothers. Are they that bad? Is the question we were going to pose.
Coke?
The answer, not that bad.
Not
'cause
that
they
bad.
gave us money.
Yep. As we're recording from this solid gold recording studio / guest bedroom in my
You wouldn't
apartment.
think all of the rooms in their offices are coated in gold, but they really are.
Oh no, they're not coated. That's solid
That's
gold.
solid
That's
gold.
all solid
That
gold.
building
This is
weighs about half the planet of the Earth.
high density. Actually, gold is a soft metal. I don't know. Does that mean it's dense or not? I don't.
Does the soft metal
Science.
affect how heavy it is?
Science majors out there, right into the podcast. We'll reiterate our information. Williamson Street Productions at
Yes.
gmail.com. Everything spelled out, all lowercase, at Williamson Street, WLLMSNST on Twitter.
Or just search Williamson Street on
Street,
Twitter.
there we
That would be
are.
a lot
Shameless
easier.
plug section.
Yes.
Over. We're here
Plugs.
today.
I will be. I will not be in any clubs, but I will be out on the street doing stand up for passersby.
Where at?
I'm booked.
What corner can we expect you?
Any street.
Any.
You know,
You never know.
You follow me on Twitter. I'll post my location for that day.
You're like a food cart.
Yeah, I'm like a food cart.
Food cart. Stand-up food cart.
There we go.
We're getting
Now
somewhere,
we're on to
folks.
an idea.
Now we're getting somewhere. We're not talking about The Simpsons. We're talking about stand-up food cart.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about The Simpsons.
We are here to talk about The Simpsons.
We were talking about this, the idea for this show, and we were going to record today. And initially, I was hesitant to record, just because I was going to tell you this, but I figured I'd save it for the podcast. I got a call last night while I was at work from my landlord. He called me, left a message, and I called him back. Someone is coming tomorrow to look at our house who wants to make an offer in buying it. And buy the house. Yeah. And he was explaining to me that he doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't plan on selling it unless they offer him enough money. But if they do, I could potentially be homeless here in less than a month, which is not something I was planning on doing right now.
I mean,
so I just hadn't been in the comedic mood.
There's a lot of programs in the city of Madison specifically for homeless.
There's one by your house, right?
Well, we have a community dinner, a community meals program.
You will see me there with my doing stand-up.
There could be worse.
And
cities.
eating. And
However, Mayor Paul Soglin might pull the old buy you a one-way ticket to Chicago, which he's done with the homeless community here in Madison.
I will take that. There's
you'll
great shopping in Chicago. The shopping.
You're assuming that you still have a job even though you're homeless.
Yeah.
Well, that's unfortunate news. What you should find out, if they make an offer and it's enough that he is willing to sell it, tell us, because we're trying to buy a house in this neighborhood.
There you go.
Let's trump the offer, and then you sublease this place from us.
Buy the house.
Switcheroo.
There you go.
The old switcheroo.
See, I'm sort of worried about it, but it's like nothing's
what kind of lease
official.
Are you on? Don't you have
I'm on a month-to-month lease.
A month-to-month lease.
So I could potentially be kicked out at any month.
At the end of the month.
At the end of the month.
At the very least, this very recording studio could provide you with a temporary place to live.
No, I see it as just a career jumping-off point for my wandering homeless stand-up that I am already
really pitching this.
I'm booking shows. I'm booking shows. And by booking shows, I mean I'm just going to be standing
to Bravo, stand-up food cart. What happens when one man gets kicked from his house, hits the streets?
And then it'll become a craze, and then they're going to make Gordon Ramsay-type shows where it's about improving your stand-up food carts.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see you could get Gordon Ramsay by that time.
I have the whole 10-year progression planned out already of what's going to happen with this genre.
However, on a personal note, if you need a place to stay, this very recording studio, how Steve Jobs is that of you? Just
very.
Be like, I didn't have a place to live. I had to live in the recording studio we were renting. I winked when I said that.
That would be
you
good.
Couldn't see that.
Because that's a good selling point.
It is. It's like, man, we're starting this little upstart, and there we were living in the studio.
Pretty soon we're going to be Google.
Yep.
People are going to be playing foosball while we record.
Yep.
In between recordings.
Yep. We are no cubicles. We believe in free, open concept work environment. No shoes either. Also, no clothes.
I would love to do a Google style workplace like that, but just have it really hostile. Like, just very hostile environment. Like, the setup's the same. You know, the tables, the nice break areas and stuff like that, but your boss comes in and is like, I need the fucking memo! Why don't I have it on my fucking desk right now?
The games of Connect 4 become incredibly hostile, and tables are thrown and chairs are thrown.
Just with, like, a bunch of guys who, I don't know, are just angry all the time. I would have, like, pointless work, like, you have to, like, put all these papers in different tubes, but then they just come back to your desk. like I would just try to drive people crazy.
Which conveniently brings us back to The Simpsons.
Yes.
Because we all remember the episode where Marge is hired at
the
nuclear power plant.
With all the tubes.
The tubes. Homer says, don't worry about it, babe. Just put it in and let the tube take care of the rest. So now we're back. This is going to be possibly and almost certainly the first of a 10-episode run we're going to do here dedicated to the FXX purchase of The Simpsons.
Potentially 10 episodes.
Potentially 10 episodes. Potentially more. Potentially 100 episodes.
We could talk about this for a long time.
Potentially perpetual episodes.
Everyone, I don't know.
We could be the next Simpsons with this podcast. Have you thought about that?
We could be the Simpsons of podcasting.
Yeah, I think that's the name of this podcast now.
The Simpsons of podcasting.
There's no way that infringes on any copyrights. There's no way.
No. Oh, I don't know if it would because it would parody.
Simpsons?
By the way, Dumb Starbucks just got put on Hulu this week, and I watched it.
Fans.
Nathan for You, Dumb Starbucks episode. I would argue his best episode so far.
It's really solid, and it's such a high exactly.
And how he filmed it, how it was told.
High concept, incredibly high concept.
It was awesome.
It's the long con for sure. He put a lot of work into that. He is a very, I would consider him less of a comedian and more of an avant-garde social artist.
He's doing the work Andy Kaufman was doing in the 80s.
Yeah, I agree. In a very comparable way, he's challenging perception, challenging system and structure, and making people look a fool.
This is what Andy Kaufman would be doing if he was trying to help businesses.
With Twitter, he's Andy Kaufman with a Twitter handle.
No, if Andy Kaufman's whole thing was helping businesses, this is how he would go about doing it. Yeah.
Anybody who doesn't watch Nathan For You, check it out. It is on Comedy Central. It's a
great show.
Hulu. You can find it. It is very fun.
Yeah,
and
it's on Hulu. They're always like 2 or 3 episodes behind though. I assume
find them. They're out there. But what we're here today to talk about is season 1, specifically
another good
The
show.
Simpsons. Another fabulous show.
Some would say pretty good show. Some would argue that.
Some would argue the best show.
I have never heard anyone argue that before.
No, that Simpsons. It's tough to say. The modern era, possibly
no
the
one
greatest.
Has ever once said that. I've looked through the whole internet. It's not there.
It's not there. I'll update my Twitter feed. Hold on.
I thought about writing it once, and I thought, it's not on there already. It's never going to be. I should just let it be.
There's definitely no AV Club article on glorifying The Simpsons, over-glorifying The Simpsons.
I don't know what the AV Club is. It was part of the internet search I missed.
It's AV Club. Check it out. Get with it.
Okay, so we are going to talk about season 1. Or
the first season.
The first season, as some would say. Although, facts.
The first season of The Simpsons was the original season to air of The Simpsons.
Some would say that.
Yeah, that is a true statement. However, of course, it started as shorts on the Tracy Ullman Variety Hour, a variety show, and it's the first episode of The Simpsons aired.
It was December 17th, 1989. It was Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire.
Which is a Christmas episode.
It was a Christmas episode. It's the one where they got...
Bart gets a tattoo.
Bart gets a tattoo? Are we jumping ahead here?
No, that's The Simpsons. This first episode. Bart, while Christmas shopping, Bart sneaks off and gets a tattoo.
Oh, okay.
That's the episode description, yes.
I was like, I don't remember an episode called that, but... Yes, that did happen.
And Santa's Little Helper appears in that episode.
Yeah, they get at the dog track, right?
Yeah, the original Santa's Little Helper.
Now we are discussing this. We have both seen at least through the first 10 seasons of The Simpsons, every episode. It's probably been a year or so since I've seen the first season.
The first season, yeah, I would say about
from the first season. Yeah, it's probably been about a year.
But today, thanks to FXX and their incredible purchase of The Simpsons, which valued somewhere between $750 million and $1 billion.
It's a lot of money.
They're estimating
not for our Koch brothers sponsors, but
all right, that's chump change for our bosses.
Yeah, they could own it if they wanted to. They're just not big fans of that style of comedy.
No, they're not. No, they're more of Dane Cook people. Coke people.
I would argue they've never laughed in their life.
Our sponsors are wonderful people, and they laugh, and they're full of joy.
They have sex very angrily, or just...
Would they be in this Google office?
Straight.
It's the Koch brothers' office that you were describing?
No, it's just how they would have sex.
It just furiously?
It would somehow be racist. I don't know if they actually are racist.
I'm not going to go there.
I'm just going to say they are. All right.
It's an assumption.
We are calling out the big boys here, talking about The Simpsons.
Putting ourselves in the line of fire, folks.
Trying to bring it back to the point. We were talking about FX purchase.
FX purchase
is a lot of money.
$1.25 million a week to air The Simpsons every year.
A week.
A week. So however, the gambit seems to be paying off. Today they launched the marathon, Simpsons marathon, every episode ever. I think it's hashtag every Simpsons ever, or
is that what's trending?
Hashtag Simpsons marathon. They're both trending right now
on the tweets,
and it has been a nonstop, all day long, complete live tweet across the expanse of the internet. People watching it at work, online, people watching along. It has been one of those strange, transcendent social media occurrences, recent memory, bringing people together. The Simpsons,
which is cool to see. I feel, I don't know, I had a different. I guess it's because I don't have cable, and I haven't had cable for some time. That it was. I don't know if I was angry about this, but I felt like one of those hipster things when you find something before other people of your generation. It's not that I found The Simpsons before other people, because it was very popular even before I was born.
You are essentially Christopher Columbus right now. You are.
But I feel
Did
like
I discover The Simpsons? No,
but
I discovered The
Simpsons.
I'm the guy. No one liked The Simpsons until Ryan.
We're gonna give me credit for it.
All right.
I feel like a lot of people we're kind of right at the age, I think, of when people stopped appreciating The Simpsons to what it should be appreciated for. Anyone older than us, I think, does. Anyone younger, I find, haven't seen The Simpsons, because I think part of the fact is before this happened, this FX thing, you could only watch it on reruns on Fox, or if you bought the DVDs, which I own, or illegal torrent. But if you can find illegal torrents of The Simpsons, odds are you've heard of The Simpsons before.
Yeah, you're hunting for it.
Yeah.
You're not turning on a TV and seeing The Simpsons.
Yes. So I feel like a lot of people's reference point for The Simpsons is the newer episodes, and that's why some people when I talk about how much I love
aren't the newer episodes, and I'm sure we'll talk about this at length, but the newer episodes feel like people our age to slightly older than us trying to do Simpsons episodes.
Sort of, yeah.
And they all have that. It's sort of like Community during season 4 when the other writers were still there, but Dan Harmon was gone. It's like we know how it goes, and like we can write these characters in, but it all kind of feels hollow.
Yeah.
And generally, I mean, around 2000, 2001, the series started to become more of a cartoon and less of a great, outstanding TV show. And it has really been a cartoon since then, instead of being the paramount, top of the mountain cultural commentator, which it was during its heyday.
I think it's a pretty common opinion of people
It was Saturday Night Live
Simpsons.
1975. Yeah. It was that trendy, crazy, challenging thing that pushed the limit.
I think I remember. I think I heard Dana Gould, I think he was a showrunner, writer for The Simpsons, talk about how it was. I think it was him who said that, like, Simpsons, not the show specifically, but the style of humor they were doing influenced what is going on, like, now with TV shows.
Totally agree.
Shows like 30 Rock, Community.
The cartoonish take. Yeah, it's become so much more snappy. The Simpsons,
the writing style, the humor style of it, that they are really.
If you took a stopwatch to the Bob Newhart show, and like actual like punchline moments come along at a much slower rate, and it really was that way. You started to get to trend more snappy, quick cut with Cheers, maybe.
Yeah.
But even then, I mean, laugh for laugh, joke for joke, The Simpsons helped speed up that timer to the point in 30 Rock. If you have a stopwatch, you're pressing it every half second. 30 Rock is almost or something like Children's Hospital, gag and joke per second is it's microseconds.
Yeah.
It seems like there's jokes on jokes within jokes and jokes, and that kind of thing wasn't happening before
The Simpsons.
The type of like top to bottom, lowbrow and highbrow, all running together. And it broke a lot of barriers, I think, for people. Influenced, obviously, a ton of people. You and I were talking before we started recording. We both were born during season 1. Not to age ourselves, not to expose the gray hairs, but we were both born during season 1. And we kind of grew up with The Simpsons. And
We can talk about that, too. How did you get into The Simpsons originally?
Well, this is it. I had a Bart Simpson doll that was about my size as a child. So
really?
My I don't know if it was my dad or one of my uncles gave it to me, but it was an actual like Bart Simpson doll, like plastic, like sort of soft plastic doll, like squishy center and plastic head and plastic hands and things. So I think I probably had that doll before I actually processed an episode.
What? Yeah.
Yes, but I started watching it after Star Trek Next Generation on UPN at 10 o'clock at night when I was about 3 or 4 years old. One of my earliest memories is Star Trek Next Generation ended, which was running in syndication, and The Simpsons came on, and my mom was trying to make me go to bed, and my dad, and I had the chicken pox, and my dad let me stay up and watch The Simpsons after Next Generation. That's probably the first time I remember watching it. And from that point on, it was an off and on banned thing from my life. I loved it the entire time and would sneak. Somehow while being banned from The Simpsons, I was still watching 4 hours of Simpsons a night by syndication. It was on 7 different channels through the late 90s, early 2000s. You could watch seasons 1 through 10 through syndication, like, over a 6-week period on multiple channels. And it was a huge influence on me. And it always has been and still continues to be, as I've watched the first 10 seasons about 6 times since I turned 18. So it continues to inform and influence and to be a subversive force in my life. How about yourself, Ryan?
Well, I have a much different introduction to The Simpsons than I think a lot of people, or maybe not a lot of people my age. I have never seen a Simpsons episode before my freshman year in college. And I had not seen one single episode.
That is fucking baffling.
Yes.
That's a lie.
That is not a lie.
There's no way you did not see a Simpsons episode. How is that possible?
Okay. You got me on this one. I watched the only Simpsons episode I had seen before I had gotten to college was in German language class in high school. We watched the episode where they go to meet Homer's brother, who is the auto guy, and Homer designs a car for him. But we watched it in German, and I remember even in high school watching it in German, laughing like constantly, like even though I didn't understand all the words.
Stopwatch out, jokes per minute.
Yes,
yep.
I just remember laughing a lot, even though I didn't understood maybe 50% of what they were saying because it was exclusively in German.
That's a really unique.
Yes, and basically how I got into it was I got to college. I have 2 friends who have been big Simpsons fans their whole life, and they kind of had been telling me in high school to watch The Simpsons, and I was like, whatever. Like I had the perception of what it was.
2005.
It was like
it was a terrible show.
Exactly, because that's the perception I had of the show, and I think a lot of people have that perception too, who weren't into it from a young age. People our age. So I had these people telling me to watch the show, and I never did. And finally, my friend sat me down. And I remember the first episode I ever watched in English was, I believe, from the 3rd season. It was Homer at the Bat, where they put together the softball team for the plant.
And we'll get to that in a couple episodes. Holy shit.
I just remember
fucking episode.
Losing it when I was watching that show and thinking, my God, why have I never seen this before? My friend owned all the DVDs. I think
shave those sideburns, Mattingly. Damn it, Mattingly! Oh man,
I play right field. Are you better than me? Well, I don't know you, but yes.
This will devolve into a lot of that.
Yes, just us quoting the show.
Yes.
So after I'd watched that first episode, I within the week borrowed all the seasons up until season 7. And this was when I was in college, I guess. It was the summer I had returned home. I was working back at my hometown. Me and my high school friend were living in the same town again. During that summer, I had watched, within like a month period, I think, the first 7 seasons. Like, I just watched them straight through. And since then, so that would have been probably 2009, summer of 2009. And then since then, I've probably seen every single episode 1 through 10 at least like 4 or 5 times. Like, I have watched that show so much now that I've gotten into it, and that's kind of how I got into The Simpsons. It's very different than a lot of people who really like the show, and that was kind of part of the reason it influenced my trying to get other people who have never watched it into the show.
So how do you feel about the FXX deal? And but you were kind of conveying a different element to me. You're saying one thing and
you're right, because
and doing another.
So I guess I'm just jealous because I don't have cable. And before, if you wanted to be into The Simpsons and you never had it was like this cool thing where you had to find people, or you had to go to used DVD stores and find old seasons of it in order to watch it.
You
on a
could say it was
basis.
like the last like pre-internet cult.
It really was,
thing,
and it held up until just about now. Like it was
you
never
could
on
see the newer
sites.
episodes, but it wasn't like watching.
You can watch the new season on
and
Hulu.
South Park had made itself available online for the entire time.
It was sort of the last holdout. Well, I guess Seinfeld hasn't done that, but they've been in syndication and they've played.
There's been no time since Seinfeld ended that if you said
it hasn't been playing.
It hasn't been playing from start to finish. The Simpsons, however, have not done that.
Which I feel like I'm not part of this club anymore that have seen these old episodes.
But aren't you kind of?
But at the same time, I am
Simpsons hipster.
Yes, no, exactly. At the same time, I'm glad people are starting to watch
this.
Guy
right now.
Yes, I'm exactly comic book guy. But at the same time, I am happy that people are finally going to be able to see this great show that people should watch. And I think it's still like it also changed my perspective because I watched it so much later after it aired that I was surprised how well it held up to today's TV shows, even though it aired so long ago. Like, not so long ago, but it was a 10-year gap that it had aired, and I had seen it like 10, 12 years. And not a lot of shows can do that. I mean, I still watch Seinfeld. I'm a huge Seinfeld fan. That is one show I have watched since one of my earliest memories of TV was watching Seinfeld. And I think that was part of the reason I didn't watch The Simpsons. I mean, I grew up in a very Christian house, and it's not like The Simpsons were banned, but they also wouldn't let me watch it.
Yep.
Like, I remember when South Park came out, and do you remember when South Park came out? They wrote articles in newspapers about why it was like terrible and shit like that. And
you look at some of those episodes from that first season,
like the first season of it,
and it's laughable. Like the reason why, like because they call the bus driver a bitch. It's like, oh my god, even the Simpsons wouldn't do that. And now you look at it, and it's so fucking tame too.
And
even contemporarily, what was actually happening in like shows like fucking Jerry Springer at that time.
Oh, I know.
South Park was so much tamer. It's like, it was the Christian right is a lovely group of people.
No, they're not.
And they picked their battles, and that was one they picked.
Yes.
And I'm not going to comment further.
So The Simpsons wasn't banned at my house like South Park was. But part of it was up until I think I was probably a sophomore or junior in high school. We didn't have broadband internet. We had one television that had cable. So I grew up watching a lot of what my parents watched. Like before I was in middle school, I have seen every episode of Seinfeld, pretty much every single episode of Cheers. Me and my dad watched a lot of Cops. That I would say that's my earliest TV memory, is watching Cops with my dad. But it was just one show that they didn't watch, so we didn't really see it because we had one television, and we just kind of watched mostly what they wanted to watch. But we did watch, like I was into like cartoons and stuff back then too. But Friends was not one. No, I think I've seen a few episodes of Friends, but let's just let this song play out. Folks, if you're just tuning in now, this is the Friends podcast. This is Friends Talking Friends.
This is Friends Talking Friends.
Yes.
This is Central Perk. We're sitting in Central Perk right now, sipping on coffee.
Is that the coffee shop name?
Gunther is sitting over there at the bar.
Who's that?
Gunther is the guy in the coffee shop. Friends was a show. I agree totally. My parents, I watched the majority of what my parents watched.
Yeah.
So that included Seinfeld. That included Friends.
Yeah.
Lots of Friends growing up. I've seen every episode of Friends. But The Simpsons was never something my mom would appreciate, and continue to see it as a thing that was influencing me to be, I don't know, an asshole,
a lot of
like
people,
a child asshole.
a lot of people thought that about that
show. She blamed Bart
show.
Simpson for me being a little asshole.
And they play on that in the show too, though.
Right, and they would totally, but that was a perception. Now, was Bart Simpson making me an asshole? No, but
you were just an asshole.
Well, yes, and also the Simpsons were informing my brain of things that every other fucking 6-year-old wasn't thinking about. Jokes about Gorbachev's birthmark on his, 7-year-olds should know who Gorbachev is and shouldn't think jokes about his birthmark are funny. But I very specifically remember thinking that was very funny. So it was just informing me to be aware of things that I shouldn't have been aware of. Mm-hmm. And so in a sense, Bart Simpson was jading me. And that was the perception by the Christian right. And what made it so controversial, especially in 1989, 1990, when it first aired, Bart, Eat My Shorts, all that stuff was very in your face for a child. He was, Gen X's Leave It to Beaver, or Dennis the Menace. I'm sorry, Dennis the Menace. And it was something that put people off. So Simpsons Season 1, in retrospect, seems
pretty tame.
So tame.
Pretty tame. Yeah.
So tame. But has some of the greatest episodes still, despite being what is relatively dry and rudimentary format for the show.
Yeah.
What it showed was promise of just apt and proficient sitcom adaptation to cartoon and taking standard tropes and making it really sound in the first year. What would have been All in the Family, Leave It to Beaver storylines, adapting it into a sort of Generation X, lampoon cartoon of that format that everybody was so familiar with. That, as a younger man, I couldn't appreciate, but now looking at it today,
you see it as a show that just happens to be a cartoon, as I don't think as many people saw it that way when it first aired.
Right, and such a parody of so many tropes and archetypes of the genre that it was parodying, which was, a family sitcom.
Parody is one of the things that they obviously didn't invent, but one of the things when I think about The Simpsons, the style of humor that they do can be seen in, I'm trying to think of just it's so common in TV now that you forget that it didn't really exist before The Simpsons, when they would do things like
Simpsons did it.
Have I'm just thinking of they would recreate scenes from The Godfather, and I'm trying to think of the episode, but Homer is they're basically doing that movie shot for shot, but it's Homer walking down the street, and the kid tries to sell him a donut. And he's I forget the line, but he's "That's a good donut." But just stuff like that.
And no show was doing that.
No show was doing that.
No one was
doing
The Simpsons. Maybe sketch comedy. There was some sketch comedy that was doing that kind of straight up parody, but they discovered very early on that even the essence of the show, you could say, is Homer and Marge and the kids being a parody of the modern sitcom family, or even the modern American family. It is a parody through and through, and they discovered that they could just borrow from blatantly steal from pop culture, insert these every people into these stories to hilarious results. That when you put the quintessential everyday husband, wife, 2 children, and a baby into these scenarios, the jokes kind of write themselves, and that's what the writers found. And it worked for so long.
Well, I don't
know
if
it has continued to work for so long.
Well, I don't know if they wrote themselves, because I would say, just from what I've read, commentaries I've listened to, The Simpsons writing play sounds they knew they had something and they were really trying to make it good. Because part of one of the strengths of The Simpsons too is it's funnier than pretty much anything out there, and it has more jokes than pretty much anything out there, but they still manage to weave in these storylines that make you really care and think that these characters are real people. Yeah.
Yep.
There's just episodes where whichever character is focused on, they seem real people, and like one specifically from the first season.
They're the every people.
Yeah, because that's I
they're
guess
the every family. Yeah.
One specifically from the first season, because that's allegedly what we're talking about. Is Life in the Fast Lane. I'm trying to think of the name of it. It's the one where Homer gives Marge a bowling ball basically for himself as a birthday present for her, and kind of despite him, she starts taking bowling. She starts going bowling and meets this Jacques character, who I believe Albert Brooks voiced. I could be wrong about that.
You are correct.
Is that Albert Brooks? I believe that was
originally he was supposed to be a tennis player named Bjorn, and the title of the episode was supposed to be Bjorn to be Wild. However,
a better title, in my opinion, just sort of the pun.
Oh, definitely a better title, but I think the bowling ball worked better as the metaphor for the entrapment of married life and the selfishness of, like the perceived selfishness of the, abusive husband, which Homer really truly is.
He's a very bad husband at the beginning of that episode. Yeah.
He's an abusive husband throughout season 1. Like, he is not the beloved. Like, often he's choking and hitting, and like, you kind of take it for granted when you're a kid because it's all very cartoonish. But if you see it as like a actual show, he's a flawed character.
Heard the writers talk about that, how he like chokes Bart, and they tried one time to animate him choking Lisa, and it was just like too weird. Like, it was like weird to look at.
They couldn't go that far.
They couldn't go that far, basically. But one of the things I do like about Homer is that like he is, in some episodes, just a terrible husband.
Early, in this season especially.
Yeah.
I mean, in the later seasons, he's more like buffoonish and like so dumb that he makes mistakes. And he's like, "Oh, yeah. Marge." But in the first season, he is a flawed and like by modern standards, like 25 years later now, a dark character.
Very
kinda.
Dark character.
And it added, like, watching season 1 today in the marathon, it added a certain element to the show that like it actually added a layer of depth where it's like this was the status quo. Like they're parodying something, which is domestic violence. Domestic violence at that level was such a staple of working class families that Homer laughably chokes.
It's not like he ever
chokes his son.
Marge,
I mean,
though.
like, just think about that. Like, today, it wouldn't be like that. And they go to that well a lot in season 1, and a lot with the physical threatening.
They do shy away from that as the show
goes on. He's always, like, antagonistic with the boy, but it's not like...
The boy?
The boy. Like
he calls him that a lot in the early seasons.
Listen, boy. And, it's just, it's a reflection of the time and parodying the time, which is interesting as a time capsule.
But I always thought...
Oh, go ahead.
I always thought it was interesting that even though you're absolutely right that he is more of a, I don't know if a threatening figure, but just more of a... it's very of the times and how people thought they would raise kids, and obviously they were being influenced by things like Archie Bunker and stuff like that. That's what the stuff they were watching, and it's cool to me though, even in the first season, how even though he acts like this, you never get the impression that he doesn't care about his children or his family necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he doesn't give a shit about it. It's just that he doesn't, I guess, know how to. I don't know how to parent correctly. If that's the
there's
thing
no
you can
disgrace like home is about Homer hating his family because of
That's
their
true.
behavior at the pub.
But
Marge gets drunk at the company picnic. It's kind of a dark episode, and there's no true resolution. I guess the resolution is it's dark and it's twisted, and it's like an anti-resolution, which is what makes it great. So Homer, after he's convinced that his family is terrible, and he berates them at the dinner while they're eating TV dinners.
But
in the living room, he berates them, which is so not what Homer turned out to be later too. They go to the dining room to eat dinner, and he berates them for embarrassing him and being prudish and being awful. And then he says, like, we have to go to therapy, we have to get professional help, and the very famous scene of them buzzing each other in aversion therapy.
But again, is something people can relate to, and that's part of the charm the show has. I'm sure I'm not a father. I left it there. I didn't have a follow-up.
I'm not a father.
I am just throwing it out there.
I'm not a father?
It sounded very like someone was accusing me. Like, I'm not a father.
Give me back my son.
Mel Gibson,
right.
Ransom.
Payback.
Not Payback.
Payback is a Mel Gibson movie, though, right?
Payback is a Mel Gibson movie, yes, but he doesn't say that line.
End of that episode, Homer cons after they give up their TV to a pawn shop so as to afford the therapy. When they are not cured by the therapy, they get double their money back, and they go and buy a TV. They go buy a better TV, and he's a hero to the family.
Oh, and it's just such
that is the anti-end. That is the anti-ending. That is
it's so true, though.
It's perfect.
Of just you can just TV makes they hit on that so much in The Simpsons. TV just makes everything better, and it's so true.
It's the It's not anticlimactic, but it's the anti-climax. Is what I'm trying to say. Like, it's the anti-resolution.
But it's
like
almost
Full House. Full House has like a whole fucking
Exactly.
We don't have a TV anymore, and therapy didn't work. But maybe therapy did work, and we're like The Simpsons were like that was essentially fuck you to all of that.
But that's part of why I like about it. It seems more like
it was dark. It was punk rock in a way. It was like very dark and out of control, and that's why it was protested.
But somehow more realistic, I think. Like because the shit in Full House that doesn't happen.
Right.
Like this, it seemed a much more realistic ending than what would actually have happened.
Right.
If given these sitcom-y situations you put them in. This is a more likely outcome, I think.
Right.
To just say, "Fuck it, let's get a better TV."
We're so terrible we couldn't be cured by therapy, but yes, we get our money back plus double, so we can buy a nicer TV. That is great resolution to the episode.
That's what America's all about,
but
too.
that kind of message is perceivedly dark and counterculture,
especially for 1990.
Exactly. So you mix that with like the sense of sentimentality and sweetness, and you had the makings for a hit, which is what the Simpsons were.
It's something very
immediately.
Special. Yeah.
They were immediately a hit, and you could see it because it is just tremendously subversive.
It is.
That episode is a highlight of season 1, and exemplary of how subversive it was at the time.
It really is, and I like. I'm still harking back. Like, I feel weird saying that I've heard of The Simpsons a lot before people of my generation, but it's amazing to think that that's obviously not a true statement, and I'm just trying to inflate my sense of self-importance, because it was obviously like the most popular fucking TV show
for like a long
time.
I remember, in like 2000 or 1999. No, it was 1999 because it was like the end of the century thing.
Yeah.
TV Guide did their favorite 100 things about TV, and Homer Simpson was number 1. In the history of TV to that point.
I could see
that's
how you make that argument.
They were at their height, and that's season 9, so that's after their best run, like their best 6-season run. From generally perceived season 3 to 7 is their purest run, their best.
Although I would argue season 2 as well.
And I mean, after watching season 1 today, I
would argue
it was a little bit above my head as a kid, and every year I watch it as an adult, it gets better and better because it is such. Season 1 is just such a lampoon of Americana, family, and sitcom and television, and it's just very
cool.
Pure in concept. Season 1.
It's cool because they're still working out what the show is, so they're trying things that they didn't do.
Right.
And
the
characters aren't fully realized in season 1. I don't.
Right, and it's very true to form, and it's like about a family, and it's a family sitcom. It's about family. They didn't start doing like the complex parodies of pop culture until a little bit later. So the concept in season 1 is so pure, and they operate so well within that concept, lampooning and parodying.
It was before. I mean, you had the episode about Krusty getting busted, but
it's
other than that,
or close to
second to last episode.
Yeah.
But every other episode is about the family. And I mean that show's about the family too, because they're very involved in the court case where he gets busted.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I believe that was the introduction of Sideshow Bob, right?
Yep.
That was
yep.
Although that was his first episode.
He appears on camera with Krusty in the episode where Bart cuts the telltale head.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He appears on camera when Krusty shames anybody who would do something like that. So Bart is watching his hero deject him live on. All in his attempts to be popular, he was now the most hated kid in Springfield, is what Jebediah's head tells him as he's carrying it in a backpack past the crowd.
Yeah.
So it's yeah.
This isn't on topic of this season, but did you ever hear, I listened to it in a commentary of what Matt Groening wanted the finale of The Simpsons to be?
No.
Like he had wrote it, I don't know when, but he had it in mind. The finale was going to be, which sounds like the greatest episode. I wish they could still do this. It was going to be revealed that Homer was Krusty the whole time, and the fact that Bart's biggest hero was in fact his dad, because that's how I thought of it when you said Krusty, Bart's biggest hero. And then Marge was going to be revealed that she had huge rabbit ears under her blue hair, and she was like a rabbit alien hybrid. As like a sort of, I just took it as sort of like a fuck you, like.
So, like, first half of that, I was right there with. Like, yeah, that's very sentimental. That fits into the concept of the first season very well. Like, how they would try to bring it full circle, and it's truly being about the family. The second idea...
That's my favorite part of it.
Like,
that's my favorite part of it, to be honest.
It does seem like a middle finger to the entire concept, which
like
I guess
a middle finger.
In.
Yeah, it's great.
The whole first season is essentially a middle finger to standard tropes of sitcom. I
hope that's what the finale is when it airs. I hope that's what it is.
It's done. Done is done. So season 1, I mean, they have Krusty Gets Busted, classic episode.
Yeah.
The Simpsons, what is it? The title, The Call of the Simpsons, where they go RVing and they get stranded in the woods.
Oh, I forgot about that
episode.
That is
a really terrific episode, a highlight. And again, it just shows the just the parodying of the American family in that situation. You know, it's just a very family oriented episode. Essentially every episode in season 1, but for a couple are box episodes. It's all this. It's just the pure characters interacting with each other.
They didn't have the show set up in season 1 where it was like
a whole
the
universe.
Cold Open
Okay.
was like the first act was semi-related to the plot, but it wasn't really.
Right, and we can get into the format of the
yeah.
classic episodes, because there's definitely a format starting in around season 3.
Yes,
where you're describing exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's like a loose skit to start.
Yeah,
that leads to the conflict,
yes.
And the conflict is the second act, and the resolution is the third.
And then they moved into like A and B stories too. And
within that concept.
Yep.
There's not a lot of A/B going on in season 1. Essentially, it is just family driven. You do get a couple episodes.
I mean, like the Crepes of Wrath. You had those two. You had the two storylines. You had Bart in France, and then the storyline with their exchange student who was a spy from. Don't remember what country. Eastern Europe, Russia, one of those things. Albanian. Okay, yeah, it would have been. Yeah, I'm sure the first time many people had heard of the country of Albania was in this episode.
It is also the first episode with Agnes Skinner. Skinner's mom.
There you go.
Seymour. Yeah. And that does, but what would be the? I guess that is an A and B line, because Homer is at home with the spy and Bart is in France. So yeah, and that shows them kind of furthering the concept through season 1.
Yeah,
and it was definitely a learning curve.
Yeah, and that one is towards the end of the first season.
It's funny. It's just as compared to just a couple years later, how rudimentary these episodes feel like.
Oh, I know.
However.
But yet they still managed to pack in.
It's not a knock. Yeah, it's not a knock. Like, it's in its simplicity in season 1 is its brilliance.
Yeah.
That is how I would sum up season 1 in one sentence. In its simplicity is its brilliance. Season 1 is terrific, and I can't believe that like I've literally grown up with this show. This show has been a part of my life since the day I was born. It's it's incredible to go back, and it's like a time capsule to the American life, the American family of that time. It's going to be fun watching all these episodes again, and it's nice that for once my yearly viewing of all 10 seasons that start the show can coincide with everyone else's.
That is cool.
It's cool to share it.
Debating.
I know it's against. I know it's against your. Well, they should all be on FXX.com, but do you need a cable? You might need a cable provider. I think, or Simpsons.
Well, I mean,
World.net.
I could.
They're all going to be streaming on the internet for any time you want.
Really?
Yeah. SimpsonsWorld.net, I believe, is the. Let me get the exact address out there.
So we can tell the people listening too. Odds are, if you've made it 50-odd minutes into the Simpsons podcast, you might know where to go already.
Simpsons World will not be launching until October, but that is what it will be called.
You tease.
It will be, so you have to be either watching simultaneously on DVD, Ryan, or get your external hard drive over here, and I'll give you the torrents.
That's what I'm going to do, like the saddest man in the world. I'm going to sync up my DVD
That's not sad.
viewings.
There's a whole world out there of people.
It's going to be a pain in the ass. I'm going to have to pause for commercial breaks. They may cut commercials differently than they did back then because commercials are longer now.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have to cut some episodes out. I'm going to have to tweet what I saw that other people didn't see because they cut out the commercials. And probably just kill myself after that. Once that's done with.
Seems like you are all over the place today, Ryan. You're going to be homeless. You want to commit suicide.
I told you, my mind is in a completely different
if you're
place.
on King Street tomorrow, Stand-Up Food Cart will be there.
It will be there. We do not sell.
Cart.
It's called Stand-Up Food Cart. We do not sell food.
No.
It is me shouting at people jokes.
Wearing a trench coat.
Well, it's going to be hot tomorrow. I probably won't wear a trench coat.
You won't wear the trench coat.
No, but there'll be some dirty clothes. Unwashed.
Unwashed white clothing.
Yeah.
The best look. The best look is unwashed white clothing.
Yeah, pretty much. I will be there shouting jokes at people, passersby.
We'll also be taking ideas for names for this series of Simpsons episodes, so that we have a little name to call this run.
Yeah.
My first thought was worst podcast
ever. That's got to be one already.
That's a good one. That's probably
I guarantee you, many Simpsons podcasts exist already.
Simpsons did it. Simpsons. You're listening to Simpsons did it. What do you think?
No.
Simpsons did it. All right. We'll keep working on that. If you're
out
there,
let's just do the
tweet
second
us.
Thing we decide.
Find us on Twitter, Williamson Street. Tweet us. Get us a name out there. We'll be listening, and we'll be out there.
Not listening. We'll be reading.
Reading.
You can't listen to tweets yet.
Siri won't read them to you. Is that another thing? What about what's the new one? There's a new one. Katana.
They stole it from Halo.
Cortana.
They stole it from Halo.
Is that from Halo?
Yeah, it's the hologram. If you play Halo single player. Yeah, her name's Cortana.
Is that a Microsoft?
That's also a Microsoft product.
Developed
by Bungie, published by Microsoft.
And the phone is as well? Is
this
that a
is
Microsoft
going to be,
phone?
Yeah, that's a Microsoft phone
or
as well.
Is it Nokia?
Well, Nokia does the Windows phones.
Okay, so
I
it
assume
is a
they have
Windows
some,
phone. So that's what they call synergy, Ryan. That's
corporate. That's upward synergy. Yeah.
Yeah, upward synergy. You gotta get with it. Corporate synergy.
It's corporate synergy.
Get with it.
But
get with it. We gotta get some corporate tie-ins.
If you guys want me to
donate to the Koch brothers super PAC.
I was just gonna tell the people if they want me to do a Halo sub podcast within the Simpsons podcast.
Will you do that? Will you break it down right now? We can get some. Will you put in some theme music here?
All right. What theme music? Halo theme music?
Well, can you?
What are we talking about?
Can we do it in post?
We can.
Do you know how to do it in post?
No, but
we can figure it out.
We'll say we'll do it in post.
We're trying to
won't be there.
Yeah, that's fine too. That's fine too. We're trying to up the production value around here, guys. We'll work on it. Don't worry.
Yeah. A few more before I start taking the time to try to figure out how to add sounds in post. I'm sure it's not hard.
We'll figure it out.
The amount of people doing these podcasts, the answers have to be out there.
The truth is out there.
The truth
Listen
is
to
out there.
Kumail's
X-Files
podcast.
That's a good podcast.
Kumail's X-Files podcast on Feral Audio. That's kind of cool. If you're a big
if you're
X-Files
a fan
guy,
of the X-Files,
check it out.
I would listen to it.
I haven't watched the whole series since like the first run as a kid because that was a show my parents watched. But the episodes I remember, I've been listening to the Kumail episodes on those, and it's been thoroughly enjoyable.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's done it yet, but there's an episode where Jack Black is in it.
I don't remember that one.
He is the buddy of a guy who gets struck by lightning and can control lightning, and he's like torturing people with electricity.
Jack Black is?
No, he's the friend of, if I remember correctly, he's the friend of the guy. I don't think he's the guy. But Jack Black is in the
see Jack Black torture people with lightning.
In the 90s?
In the 90s?
Yeah, this is pre-Tenacious D, pre-HBO Tenacious D.
Man.
Anyhow, Kumail's podcast. All right, what else do we want to plug? Is there anything else we want to plug out there?
I want to plug the Stop and Go by my house. I've been going there a lot for my needs.
Yeah.
Just
convenience.
General convenience needs.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cool.
If you're in Madison, I would recommend stopping at the Winnebago Street Stop and Go. It's very good. I wouldn't say very friendly, but friendly enough.
Friendly enough?
Yeah.
Good. How's the coffee?
It's not bad for like convenience store coffee.
Not bad.
I would rate it like a 7.
I would argue with that.
I'm gonna do.
I hate convenience store coffee.
Here's what I want to do. I want to go to Madison that has so many like good, hip coffee shops.
Right.
But I want to review the gas station coffee shops. I want to miss all of the hip, cool ones. And I want to review just the gas stations.
All right, we're listening.
And just the coffee.
You're
at the gas
listening
stations.
to Gas Station Podcast. All of your Dane County gas station review needs. Ryan, what do you got for us this week? How about that stop and go on Winnebago? I hear.
Oh, we talked about that last week. This week I'm going to be discussing the BP on East Washington.
BP on East Wash. Super wash? Car wash?
Oh, it's got everything.
Oh, my God.
You can get a coffee and a car wash and drink your coffee in your car wash.
That's full service.
What I do every morning on my way to work.
Your car wash budget must be astronomical. You can't be getting Diamond.
Oh, I write it.
You write it
off. Yeah.
We have a large. The Koch brothers have sponsors. That's why we needed sponsorships. Yeah.
They will pay for anything.
Ryan's egregious car wash
daily
addiction
and chronic car washes.
That's an addiction, man. You need help.
Yeah.
All right, we'll launch that podcast.
Intervention?
This is Dr. Drew's Intervention Podcast. You're listening to it on Williamson Street Radio.
If I could do a Dr. Phil voice, I would.
Dr. Phil?
What did you say?
Dr. Drew.
Dr. Drew.
He's
the star
guy.
fucker.
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yep.
I remember him like he's dead.
Well, you've been listening to the worst podcast ever.
Hello.
Tentatively.
Welcome to the worst podcast.
Is there anything else you want to cover from season 1, Ryan?
I was thinking about that. I was just looking at we're about an hour right now.
Do you want to take a break and collect ourselves, and maybe, or do you want to just end it?
I was thinking about that. Let's take a break.
Maybe we'll be back.
We might be back.
Maybe we
might just be back with
episode.
our final thoughts of the season. If
Jerry's final thoughts.
Jerry's final thoughts.
We'll be right back with Jerry's final thoughts.
All
You're
right.
listening to Worst Podcast Ever.
Can you take us into the break?
Yeah, more Friends themes?
No, I was going to have you... I was doing the bit from Jerry Springer. We've chosen you to take us into the break. Del?
Right over my head.
Del? Okay, well, let's try it again.
We'll be right back with Jerry's final thoughts.
Woo! And we're back to the finale of the podcast, season 10. Let's talk about it.
Season 10, we made it.
We're all the way to the end.
You guys weren't listening to the last 12 hours.
If you guys were wondering what had happened to the audio in between where we ended and where we came back, I don't know.
We'll subsequently post it and parcel it out. But this is 10 hours since the last time you heard us, and we've recorded the entire series.
Yep. In one sitting.
It is exhausting.
At this point right now, we're both pretty sure we don't like The Simpsons anymore.
I don't.
I've been talking about it for far too long.
I've come back around that I think they're degrading society. I've come like full circle on it, and I'm with the naysayers.
Since we left off, Dell has joined the Christian right.
Yep. Got all my tattoos removed.
I've been homeless for quite some time.
Long time. Still doing stand-up at the stand-up food cart, though.
Stand-up food cart's going strong.
Again, tomorrow, coincidentally, he'll be on King Street as well, just like he was 10 hours ago.
It's only because they don't kick me off there.
They let you stand.
And a lot of people don't boo.
Ryan, live on King Street. Hey, tomorrow night, Deer Tick live on King Street.
It's tough out there for stand-up food cart because if you're not getting kicked off a corner from being a vagrant, you're getting booed because you're not funny.
Yeah, exactly. You're getting kicked out of a corner. If that's when you know you've had an electric show.
You only do it for the love because why else would you be out there?
Right. Money? Definitely not.
The women, though.
Women and the money.
The amount of women in this town that go after homeless stand-ups is
astounding. Is that what you found?
God, why didn't I get into this before?
College students aren't even back yet.
Yeah,
your chances are only going to go up.
I'm just going to be swimming in it. Swimming in the puss.
Woo.
Can we not use words like that on this podcast?
Use words like that. I think I dropped the F-bomb a few times.
I just
swimming in the puss is not something that I've ever said before.
It's an Adele song.
Is it? It's by Adele?
Yeah. It was the B-side to Rolling in the Deep. Not as many people heard the B-side.
Rolling in the Deep / swimming in the puss.
I blame the radio, though.
Yeah, that's
why don't you play the
B
B-sides?
And puss, of course, in England means your face. So she's just rolling in her face. She's just rolling in her face.
Does it?
Yeah, puss. You're such that's sour puss comes from. You got a sour face. You got a sour puss. Sour puss.
They have to know what the slang pussy is, though. They gotta know what that means.
Are you talking about puss?
Everyone consumes.
You're listening to
everyone consumes American media. They know what it means.
Everybody loves pussy.
That's true. Everyone loves pussy too.
That is my cartoon.
This podcast got very sexual.
My cartoon is Everybody Loves Pussy, and it's adapted screenplays from Ray Romano's hit sitcom Everybody Loves Raymond. But you replace Ray Romano with a pussy, and you replace all the characters with pussies, and it's just...
Ma!
Ma! Come on, Ma! Oh, no, my mom's coming over, and she burnt the turkey. Oh, God.
Everyone loves the pussy.
Brad Garrett.
I can't do a
you
good
thought Brad Garrett was funny?
You
thought Brad Garrett was funny? Imagine Brad Garrett as a 6'4" giant vagina. Now that's funny.
They had an episode
where he was a vagina. I remember that episode. Phil Rosenthal called it their greatest episode. Yep, the one where
daring is how I would.
Daring, yeah, it was. It was nominated for an Emmy, and it won, of course.
Of course, it did, because he was also mentally retarded too.
Whoa! After the break, we took some Jack Daniel's shots or something because we came back fiery.
No, because that's what wins Emmys.
Oh,
people.
Well, I think mentally challenged is the preferred nomenclature.
See, yeah, you're right. It is, but retarded is a word in the dictionary. Like, I understand.
The only time
I understand the bad
connotation.
Yeah,
is if you're talking about fires. And you're talking about
fire
retardant material, or any material that retards fire. Other than that, that's shaky. That's thin ice.
Okay, see, this is the thing. I understand the negative connotation behind it, but at the same time, I think it's different than words like the N-word, because obviously I can't even say the N-word on this podcast. It's like that's not in the dictionary. It wasn't a word before it became a word that you can't say. As like a different thing.
That's where you're drawing the line, huh?
No, I just think it's different.
The time where I don't think using the word retarded is okay in regards to fire is, I think using the word retarded if you're talking about fire, like fire retardant is fine. The time that it's not fine when you're talking about fire is when you're talking about Garth Brooks standing outside the fire video, where if you have never seen this video. It is horrifying. It is a horrifying 1990s take on what people thought mental disabilities were all about, and it's shown to you as like this triumphant story, and it's just awful. It makes, to this day, that video makes me feel awful that was the perception, and that is the message of the song is horribly offensive to me. The whole idea of the song is supposed to be uplifting, and it's just horribly offensive. Check it out. Standing Outside the Fire music video. YouTube it right now.
Was it kind of
cry and die a little inside?
Was it kind of like that video or the song? Who was it? It was LL Cool J, and I forgot what it was. It came out like last year, and everyone was talking about it. God damn, I can't think of it.
Because he used, what word did he use? I can't remember.
No. It was, I remember the line from his was like something about if you like forgive these gold chains or something, I'll forgive like the Confederate flag or something like that. Like it was supposed to be this like bringing together of black and white people, and it was just it was absurd. Like it was just an absurd song. I can't think of what it is right now. I think it was a country star and LL Cool J. These are all...
Oh, they're trying to get on the Nelly Tim McGraw bandwagon.
This is all conjecture because none of this may be right, and I could look it up.
I said it's all in my head.
I'll think about it over and over again.
This is the Nelly and Tim McGraw podcast. Where we
what
talk
if those
about
two did a podcast together?
Those two? Oh, they do. I'm pretty sure.
Do they? Do they do a podcast together?
Yeah, they do.
I would listen to that.
It's British Premier League.
They talk about the British Premier League?
That's all they talk about is the English Premier League. They're all about it. Big who's
going to win the English
Swansea fans?
Premier League this year?
Probably, one of the three teams that always wins it, like Liverpool, Manchester United, or...
Okay.
This is the really dry soccer portion of the podcast. Max, if you're out there, come inform us. Come inform us on soccer, because we need your help.
Yeah.
So, season 1 of The Simpsons.
Yes.
Ryan.
What are our thoughts?
Our thoughts? Well, looking back on it, as we were talking in the break, it probably single-handedly saved the Fox network.
Yes.
So that's for better or for worse.
Most people say that the Fox network probably wouldn't be around if The Simpsons
didn't happen
the
the first top 30 rated show the Fox network ever had.
Yeah.
And continues to be an incredible... I mean, obviously... They just received $1 billion for the right to air the franchise. Not to own the franchise, just to air the franchise. So it continues to be a tent pole for them. So in that regards, it was, of course, a huge success because 25 years later, we're still here.
I'm going to argue The Simpsons wasn't a success. I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Could have
been bigger.
Could have been bigger?
Could have been bigger.
Season 1 could have been bigger?
No, the whole show.
The whole show could have been bigger?
Yeah. Didn't get enough attention.
Like it's endemic to season 1 is why, or you think because, or are you coming at it from your angle like I didn't watch it growing up, so it could have been bigger?
I'm coming at the angle where, so it was the most watched show, very highly acclaimed, cultural phenomenon. Some would say.
Yes.
Could have done more.
Merchandised to.
Why didn't they set up their own independent nation? Start a government that they could run. Control people.
Who would be...
they didn't go far enough is what I'm saying. They stopped in the entertainment realm. They conquered that and they thought this was enough. We don't need to go into other realms. In that sense, it could have done more.
Has a television show ever franchised as much as The Simpsons? Like merchandise?
That's a good question. I mean,
I don't think so.
You got like Star Wars. I'm sure it's probably
that's not Star Trek. I guess
Star Trek,
maybe, but I don't think like that's
show-wise. I don't know.
I don't
probably not. No.
It's crazy to think about. And it started then. It started right away with this show. Season 1 merchandise. As I stated, I had a Bart Simpson doll growing up. So we're talking 91, 92. I already had a doll.
I don't know if there's probably figures on like the shows that's made the most money through merchandising.
Yeah.
It's got to be like top 5 if it's not number 1. Like,
well,
it's got to be.
Everybody thinks Seinfeld got his money from selling his show to syndication.
Yeah.
It was actually his the merchandising of Seinfeld airline peanuts. What's the deal, peanuts? What's the deal?
I just see his face on the peanut
That's
box
exactly
like
right.
this.
It's like an aluminum foil, and
Yeah.
it's just like Jerry's face.
His
on
hands
the
are
side.
kind of up.
What's the deal with these airplanes? You try to open the bag, and they go everywhere. And thanks for the 3 peanuts in the bag. I mean, could they put less peanuts in the bag?
Your voice was going Cosby there for a minute.
But the beer, the Jello pudding, and the peanut bag.
Bill Seinfeld.
Jerry Cosby.
Jerry Cosby. Just Bill Cosby doing Seinfeld jokes.
I would like to talk to you about some of the things you say in your show. Bill Cosby. For sure, Bill Cosby's been killed by The Simpsons. Like, Simpsons dwarfed The Cosby Show.
Yeah.
Even despite The Cosby Show's, sort of rating critically and culturally and its importance and, African Americans being on TV. I'd still think that of the 50 years of comedy or, of television, prior to the millennium, The Simpsons were a more influential, bigger show than any other. And it started right away in season 1.
Yeah, I mean,
Cheers struggled in season 1. A lot of shows struggled in season 1, and
Seinfeld.
The Simpsons came right out of the gate and were a phenomenon and continue to be a phenomenon. And this episode, I feel like we're talking more about just the overarching idea of.
Yeah.
I mean, we're only dealing with 13 episodes, while the rest of the seasons are 18 to 22,
Yep.
some 25 episode seasons. So we're
And
talking more about the
also,
larger concept. I don't think the Cosby Show is close to importance, but I believe that the Simpsons are the most important television show.
And comedy for sure.
For
I
sure,
think so,
comedy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, drama is a whole
Sitcom.
other thing.
Yeah, or I mean, news shows obviously. Edward R. Murrow had a big
the moon
influence.
landing,
Yeah.
things
like
this.
that. Yeah. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall.
Oh, Reagan, great
Are
president.
we doing my impression?
Thank you, Ronald Reagan.
You're listening to
Your legacy is intact.
Impressions with Dylan.
By the way, I just anyone out there who got that is a Frisky Dingo reference, and the one person out here who might have listened to that, I'm doing this for you. People who watch Frisky Dingo, this is who I'm doing it for. I'm going to work more references into the show.
Adam Reed's show for Adult Swim.
Adam Reed's most underrated and best show he's ever done.
But you want to talk about us like pace-wise, like we talked about with season 1
Oh my
of The
God,
Simpsons?
yeah.
Pace-wise, incredibly influenced. You can tell just, it opened the door for Adult Swim. There's not an Adult Swim. There's not a
Without
culture
yeah.
for Space Ghost, for Aqua Teen, for whatever like that first generation of Adult Swim shows were. Even Dr. Katz.
Yep.
You don't have Dr. Katz.
Harvey Birdman.
You don't have these shows without The Simpsons.
I know this isn't the first round of shows on Adult Swim like Harvey Birdman and Space Ghost, but they were
Space Ghost Dr. Katz and Space Ghost were first gen. Space Ghost was their first show.
I know that's when it started to get really popular too.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Was it their first show?
William Street. I'm pretty sure Space Ghost was their first show. Yeah.
Because I could have sworn there was stuff around before then, but this is not a show about Adult Swim.
But
again,
however, as
Simpsons.
huge Adult Swim fans, we definitely see it informing.
I just belched into the microphone, which is something you want to do on podcasts, really. I'm going to start.
Yeah, because it was known as Ghost Planet Industries before it was
William Street.
Let's see, filmography.
We do all our research on Wikipedia.
Yep.
If you want to learn anything that we talk about, it's straight off of Wikipedia. We could just read Wikipedia articles verbatim,
which is literally what we were doing,
and then just title the episode, like just short episodes. We title it the article, the Wikipedia article, and hopefully Wikipedia will start posting our podcast on their pages. And we're going to do it for everything, not just for entertainment realm. We're going to do it for everything Wikipedia has, every article. So stay tuned for that, folks.
The Wikipedia show, the Wiki podcast,
Wiki podcast. All right. Dylan is doing some research, but we will. We can probably leave it here.
I think
you got anything to say.
I got nothing else to say other than like season 1 is really good, and it's always refreshing to go back and just see how pure it is, how pure and brilliant it is in its simplicity and trueness, and honesty in the American family, and you can see why it was such a hit right off the bat. The anti-family that actually is the every family, you know. Because being honest, families fight, and The Simpsons season 1 definitely honored that way more than its contemporaries, which are like during the time Family Matters and Full House, and I mean even the relationships on Cheers are cartoonish compared to the real relationships on The Simpsons,
which is a cartoon.
Exactly. The irony. So, brilliant in its simplicity, season 1. That's my final thought.
My thoughts on season 1 are mostly like if I were to make a list of my favorite Simpsons episodes from the first 10 seasons, because that's what I've seen. Not a ton of these like I don't know if any episode from season 1 would be in my like top 5. Because it's a little slower. It's not. I mean, it's still really funny.
Right.
You'll watch it and you'll laugh. Like it's not like you're gonna not laugh watching the show. But I see it as like it doesn't hold as much nostalgia for me because I watch these so much later in life. It seems like when I watch it, you can see a show that they're still figuring out its own thing because like. You can say, I've heard them say it in commentaries and stuff on DVDs, is that even Dan Castellaneta wasn't really doing the Homer voice in season 1 or 2. He was doing his impersonation of
Walter Matthau.
Walter Matthau, I believe, yeah. And it hadn't, like, you can see it sort of shaping into what it is right now, and that's kind of why I still like to go back and watch it. And, you know, I still go back and watch episodes like Life in the Fast Lane, which to me is just a great... like it's a touching story.
Yes,
and it's funny as hell.
It's got some of that pop culture parody in it because it ends with the parody of Officer and a Gentleman.
Yes,
where Homer's carrying
her out. That's such a great.
So it shows,
I will be back.
You're right. For 10 whole minutes. Yep. That shows that is a good window into what would become like what is now quintessential Simpsons.
Yep, and that is a John Swartzwelder written episode directed by David Silverman.
Yeah, I
think we'll probably talk about Swartzwelder much more in these later shows because I like Swartzwelder a lot. I like a lot of the writers on The Simpsons, but you know, Swartzwelder famously wrote 59 episodes and far more than anyone else.
Right.
So we'll probably talk about his shape of shaping the show.
I would also encourage any serious Simpsons fans out there to look up these writers and follow them on Twitter. Most of them are on Twitter, and a lot of them are talking and tweeting these episodes, and it's a really cool, nerdy insight into. It's sort of like, you know, being live tweeted commentary during this marathon. Enjoy the marathon, guys. Enjoy. The rest of the Simpsons run, you know, we won't judge you if you stop after the 10th season. We're going to.
Judge.
I'm looking forward to keep talking about this, especially once we get into the heyday seasons, because I feel like season 1 we can talk about the overarching, you know, run of the Simpsons and what it is in its essence, but we aren't talking about specific episodes and specific jokes like we will be. This will devolve, and this will be something that hopefully feels nostalgic for everybody, feels is a good laugh for everybody. I'm looking forward to it, and it's gonna be really fun.
I'm just looking at the list from season 2, and I'm already like
season 2. I mean, it already kicks right up.
I want to talk about that episode.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, and they are recording currently, so on my DVR, so I'll be rewatching a number of those this evening and ready to talk soon. So enjoy this episode. Hope you did. I
hope you didn't.
We never introduced ourselves, which is funny. We just assume
we should do that. We should have that become a thing now. We introduce ourselves at the very end of the show and then cut it off.
All right, here we go. So for the worst podcast ever, This is Del.
Working title.
Working title. Obviously, if you're out there and it's your podcast, very sorry.
Yes, we're not
doing this.
If that is a
we're
podcast,
not posting
we're not going
it
to
as
use
that.
it.
So hopefully, precisely 6 people will hear this, and we won't get sued. We're trying not to get sued. This is Del.
My name is Ryan.
And we hope you enjoy your time. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right.